Okay, so I thought maybe people could be interested in what kind of boards I ride myself. So this is the standard fly wave. I don't ride it so often. So this is it has a pretty fast rocker, but still turny, and a V with a double in it. So this is the 78. I rarely ride boards this big and not in this shape. So this one I use for I was in Cabo Verde, so then I wanted something floatier. I have been the designer of the Zimmer windsurfing boards for like 12 years or something now. So I have, of course, a lot of people testing my boards, whether they are customs or production boards. But I also do a lot of development myself, and I really value the critique and the feedback you get from friends that you sail with yourself. So this is my local spot, let's say, and Micke, my kind of best sailing friend. It's kind of interesting. He rides the fly here because I mean, we kind of sail in a way it's the same spot, and we say kind of similar. Yet there are some important differences between how we sail, and I know exactly how he sails because I see him sail so often. So that's quite important, because when he gives me feedback, I kind of know exactly where it comes from and so on, and that's really important feedback to get. And also for yourself, I mean, I go to other spots, other places in the world and so on, but it's still, when you sail your local spot, you know the waves so well, so it's actually the best to feel the board when you're like on your home ground. So, but my own boards are pretty strange, really. So let's see the green one. So this is it's like a fish design. So I always have a really short tail. I like to think about I don't think about the strap being far back. I think about the tail being short, because I always have the same kind of stance and kind of a short distance between the mast track and the front straps. So this has the same rocker as the fly generally in the center as the fly 72 actually. So this is like a 79, so it's 209 times 58. But I have a slightly more in my program that I use when I design the boards. I can design kind of this curve, the rocker here, and the rocker here separately. So what I did on this one is that I increased the rocker a little bit here, so it has a little bit more rocker when it's on rail, and that also extends the V a little bit towards the tail. But then there's also, you can always see there's a deeper concave here. So with this board with a short tail, sometimes they can lose grip in the top. So this sort of tunnel concave that runs pretty deep all the way to here, it makes the board stick in the top turn a little bit better, so it holds the rail a little bit better. So this one I use now. I don't have any fins, but this one is really versatile. It doesn't really go so well as a standard quad, so I use it as a twin, the old style twin with the two 16 or 15. I use it, we can look at the other one, with like a surf style twin, so I have that like two MR fins, so kind of big classic surf fins here, and the little center. And sometimes I use it as a standard thruster setup also, like I have on one of the others. All my surf fins, I only use this kind of fins as fronts. These are FCS set, FG3 with an inside foil. You see it's the same kind of towing in the box. PG3. This is a reactor set. So what I do, typically for most of my boards, I kind of mold the fins a little bit deeper, so they become slightly smaller than a standard surf size. But here you see I sort of used the standard surf size, the size 3. but like this, so you have a little bit of splay in them. I like that. What it does is that I mean, actually both toe in and splay delay a little bit the engagement of the fin, so you need a little bit more rail for the fin to engage. So this makes the whole setup more forgiving. So I kind of tune my fins to work exactly how I like to turn. So I mean, a typical setup then might be, this is kind of extreme. I used this today. It was onshore, kind of hard to sail. So this setup, which is kind of similar to the twin setup on the other board, it makes makes the turn more locked in, so you can go tighter on the wave. But it's also kind of hard because you need to really surf the board. You can't really just bank it over and expect it to turn. You need to surf it with both your feet to sort of, because you have much more drive in this fin, so it's easy to go wrong, but sometimes it's just very nice. The first prototype of this one had a winger also, kind of like the production fly, but this one doesn't. And this has a really straight curve here, so it's kind of fast in the turn, like a surfboard winger board. So this is yeah, as I said, it comes from the seaside. It has kind of same. I was inspired by the seaside, the Machado board. So, but compared to the earlier prototype, I still gave it a little bit more curve here. So as soon as you give outline curve, you're gonna have looseness, and straightness gives kind of grip and stability. So if you want a board that really is easy to not spin out on the top and so, it's better with a bit of a straightness. But if you want it really loose so that you easily can come around in any sort of turning radius you want to have, then it's better with a little bit of a curve. So the whole design of the outline is to distribute where do you want this curve to be. So that's the whole point. So it's kind of the board I use for light wind and small waves. So yeah, it's kind of wide and turny. The green board, it's called the Torrent after Torrent Martin, the twin fin surfer. In the similar lineup, it's actually most similar to the Quantex. This is the Quantex 79, you see me sail here. But it has a much shorter nose. It's because I always like to kind of come around really tightly on the wave, so I like short noses. So this one is kind of my other standard board. I used that one today. So you see it's kind of scratched up. I think I had it for 4 years. So I painted it myself, so it's not so nice maybe. It was inspired from one of the Slater design boards with this kind of winger shaped tail and this, and a really short nose. So this one is 207. So the actual outline is kind of really stretched and kind of straight up here, so you can get a lot of rail despite the board being kind of short. Otherwise it's just a super soft, a lot of rocker here, really high rocker board, not so much in the tail, and it is a double in a single. And this one I use mostly with this kind of setup or a quad setup. So I use FCS front fins that I kind of mold into the box. Now they are a bit scratched up because I hit some rocks. And either this one, the 15, the black tip, or I have two like 12 that are special made that I use. So I use the same fronts. So and what happens then? So with this one in the middle, you get a little bit more drive. So when you go down the wave and push, you get more forward action, let's say. And sometimes you can get a little bit more grippier turns also in the top turn. With a quad, it likes to be more on rail. So if it's a wave where I need to go really deep to come back, then I close to the wave, then I usually use the quad. And if I need some, projection, I usually use the truss. So this is a kind of special board. It's designed from actually the outline is kind of like a ghost to the surfboard myself. So it has a round tail. used a few roundtails over the years. It's really nice because it comes around super easy. It's just you know, you have to have the right setup to get it to grip nicely and so on. Yeah, so kind of nice sometimes. Which I actually designed a few years ago when I was going to Cape Verde. It worked well there and in some clean conditions, but it's too much curve here and too little area here. So it's really sensitive in choppy conditions. I mean, on a windsurfing compared to a surfer, you have the sail, so you actually push quite a bit with the sail, so you get a lot of rail. So you need to have a little. I discovered by doing this experiment, you need to have a little bit more outline here or more width here for it to work. But it's nice sometimes still. So I want to make a new one with the same tail but slightly shift the outline curve, so I will have a little bit less curve here. And if you have curve, is how much it bends. So if you have less curve here, it's gonna automatically kind of straighten out a little bit, and then you have to add a little bit more curving in the nose. So this one I can almost not show it because it's really ugly. But it's a reshaped old board. This one is 66, 55.5 width. This one is 55 wide, and it's 66. What was that? 73 was that, the other one, and 208. So this is a reshaped old board that I wanted to try out as like a surf style twin. So this is the standard MR, maybe the most well-known twin fins for surfboards, and I run a little stubby in the back. This one is also inspired by some surfboard designs, and I wanted to sort of get the most amount of fin drive possible with the least amount of kind of tail drive. So I took away, so this tail actually after the winger it goes inside, so it becomes really small, so you have a really not a lot of power from the tail. So I want to generate all the power from the fin on this one. If you compare to this one, it looks kind of similar, but actually this one runs a lot straighter, so you get a lot more power from the tail on this one. So this I removed. Otherwise it's kind of the same rocker and the same bottom, more or less. It's interesting to compare those two with the wingers, because if we look from the front, here you see how much behind the winger, how much the tail actually is pulled together. So it's a relatively straight curve, but it's pulled in relative how the outline kind of enters, the direction of the outline before the winger. It's kind of pulled in. The other one is also pulled in, this one, a little bit, but not as much. So here, so that this kind of line is not so far from what it comes in with here. And it's straight. The straightness, it's gonna make, it's gonna give grip, and the more you pull it in, the more loose it's gonna be. Let's say. So this one it can also be sailed as a standard thruster, but the point of this is sometimes if it's a little bit onshore or low power, then you can use this. You get a lot of engagement from the fin, so you can cut really tight on the wave and go really tight. And also, if you come up a little bit more like shallow in the bottom in the top turn, usually you can skip out. But then, if you manage to just set this large fin, you can get a really nice hook with the fins. But it's very hard to sail if it's super powered up or choppy. Then it's too much. So this is kind of experimental. So I mostly ride these kind of experimental boards, and I kind of made them to fit the way I sail, so that's kind of a luxury.